What's her name? Right.
Chief of Staff, are you on the phone?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Yeah. It is a little different, like you guys this way.
Yeah.
Remedy is a key trait in success.
There were a few times I was scheduled to be speaker at a banquet for fundraising, and the motto for that, from the organizers, was feed them and fleece them. So speak very little.
Right.
Just beer.
I wasn't here last time, I welcome you words. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome. Good to see you. Why? Good start. Because this makes you.
I'm gonna squeeze by you.
Oh, yes.
Need you to have this in my office directly and my cell phone and
Super, thank you.
okay. If Jamie comes in, will you show her where to sit?
Sure.
Okay. I always just switch chairs, she's got a little bus chair. Alan's in here, so she can have her vision.
Such a, yeah, yeah, I used to have one. I got it on music show, yeah. Mine works on 50% of the time. Maybe. I went a month, I couldn't get in my email. Oh, who knows? Doesn't know good.
Have they changed the password every, what, 90 days?
Not for this.
Yeah. They said that
Distraction
for
to that, I
service,
think that's what that's for.
it was a good guarantee. Yeah, I set mine as a permanent for the last 20 years.
They did? They won't do it here.
Yeah, I tried. Like, it's a strong password, right?
You know, where you.
No one can guess that password.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, it has to change, whatever. So I need to, 3 months to get me back in because I can't get in.
And I'll, behind the monitor, all that.
Half the time I just say, Jackie, I can do what I want in my, again.
They just reset it, don't they?
They reset it to the default, saying, well, I'm gonna give when you first come in, and that's why I just put back in and then they changed again. And 36 months down the road, I said, oh, yeah, can you get me reset again?
Hello, everyone. The time is now 6:30. Welcome to the regular meeting for Sunnyside City Council for Monday, August 23rd. And this meeting is being live streamed using the Zoom application. The council chambers of the Sunnyside Law and Justice Center is available for in-person attendees. For current directives, in-person attendees must wear a properly fitted mask and remain physically distanced. Masks are available if needed. Please allow one person to speak at a time. I will call on every member to make sure you have had an opportunity to ask questions. I will now ask our city clerk, Renteria, to start the roll call, please.
Mayor.
Here.
Deputy Mayor.
I'm here. Sorry.
Councilor Farmer. Councilor Bueller.
Here.
Councilor Isuchi. Councilor Hicks.
Here.
Councilor Isuchi. Councilor Isuchi.
Here, Jackie.
Thank you. Councilor Hart. Acting City Manager Ellis. Here. City Clerk Renteria, I am here. Fire Chief Anderson.
I'm here.
Police Chief Escalera.
Here.
Public Works Director Fisher.
I'm here.
Perfect. And Councilor Hart is walking in now, so I'll count her as here. Mayor, we
Yes.
have one council absent, Councilor Farmer.
I have not received any requests for an excused absence, so we'll hold off a little bit in case he comes in a little bit late. And if you don't mind, just remind me, Jackie, a little bit later in case he doesn't show up and I forget. All right, so first item on our agenda is going to be our invocation. Deputy Mayor Boersma, would you mind doing the invocations? Anybody in the audience who wants to do the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance, since I'm not able to be there today?
You want me to do the invocation, sir, or you want me to do the pledge of allegiance?
No, ask if there's anybody in the audience who wants to do the invocation. I don't think I saw anyone there.
I will ask, is there anyone in the audience this evening who wants to, or is here to lead us in the invocation? It does not appear that there is.
Okay, and if you don't mind leading the Pledge of Allegiance, that we could all join you.
I will do that. Please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Appreciate it. Okay, up next our agenda include it's a public comments. Citizens are advised that they must limit their remarks to the council to 3 minutes. Council may refer items to staff to review and or research to present at future council meetings. Do we have anyone in the audience who would like to provide public comment today? Please come to the microphone, state your name and city or residence.
Larry Hill, Sunnyside. There's been a parking problem on our street again, and it's getting worse. They have cars that look like a wrecking yard parked to the driveway at the apartments at 507. They have another car that's parked on the street in front of their apartment, downstairs apartment. It isn't running. It's a maroon or red colored car. They keep blocking my driveway at all hours of day and night. And I don't like over there in the middle of the night to have them move it if I have to leave in the middle of the night. Sometimes there are extra people staying at that apartment. So much traffic going in and out of that bottom apartment. The landlord, David Navarro, is in the process of having them evicted, but they keep extending their eviction extensions on, but they can't get them out. And there was a drive-by shooting in that place in January. And the police called it, they couldn't call it for a drive-by shooting because they didn't find shell casings. Well, there were bullet holes in the vehicle that was parked on the street at the time, and now it's parked in the driveway that does, with a flat tire on it now. And they got another vehicle, a little Ford, that's parked behind it, two doors. There's a mirror half busted off on it, and it's sitting in the driveway. And it's just a mess there. Now, I don't know what you can do, if you get them to move those vehicles out there, it's gonna look like a wrecking yard one of these days, if they don't do something about it. They got license tags on the vehicles parked in the street, so there's much you can tell if it isn't running. So I hope something can be done. I was gonna call and report it, but I understand they're having a little bit of difficulty trying to figure out what that officer that goes around and takes care of the abandoned vehicles and vehicle problems and grass and everything else, what his job description is. So I had talked to one of the city councilmen saying that he wasn't sure if that guy knew what job he was supposed to be doing and enforcing. So I don't know what the answer is, but something needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. And that might be something we could address with our code enforcement, Madam Interim City Manager, if we could get that over to them, see if there's anything that can be done through our code enforcement.
I'll have staff look into it and get back to council.
Thank you. And I see Councilor Farmer has joined us, so we won't have to do an excused absence in this case. So thank you for that. And any additional public comments from our audience?
We don't see any, Mayor. I'd also like to note that interim finance director, Horner is here.
I'm sorry, Jack, I didn't quite catch that. I heard a little bit about it, but it kind of muffled out a little bit.
We don't see anybody in the audience that'd like to make additional comment. I also just wanted to let you know that interim finance director Horner is here.
Thank you very much. Also, did we get any emails or letters or messages from our citizens who would like to be on the record for tonight's meeting?
We did not receive any.
Thank you very much. Okay, up next, since we don't have any more public comments, we'll go on to our consent agenda. Is there any questions on the consent agenda as presented? We have approval of the minutes for the last 2 minutes, June 28th and July 6th. We have payroll vouchers and claim vouchers. Is there any questions or any items you'd like to pull, council members, from the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented, Mr. Mayor.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Councilor Stucci, second by Councilor Hicks to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any debate on this item? No debate, but I do have one question, Madam Interim City Manager. Transaction number 12838. 12838 for ASCAP, $368.83. It's shown as music license fee. I know in the past we had Muzak as a company who used to pay since we couldn't get out of our contract for downtown music. Is that what that is? Maybe a new company who took over?
No, actually, this is for any time we want to do a community event and play licensed music, or if we want to be at the community center and play some licensed music. It's basically any kind of music that we play anywhere in the city, and that would include festivals and carnivals and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So this is a once a year fee, and we have actually been paying this every year for probably 5 or 6 years.
Okay. Thank you. I don't recall seeing in the past. That's what I was kind of questioning. I do remember the Muzak one for the downtown music, but this one is it just looks new to me. But it sounds like we had it in the past. So I don't have any more questions on the claim vouchers. Any additional debate? Any questions from council members? Hearing none, can we get a roll call on this item, Jackie, please?
Mayor Guerrero,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burisma,
Yes.
Councilor Tucci,
Yes.
Councilor Beeler,
Yes.
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Councilor Hart,
Yes.
Mayor, there's 7 yes votes.
Thank you. And consent agenda is approved. Up next, we have our active agenda, which consists of interim city manager agreement. Consider approving a professional service agreement between the city of Sunnyside and Elizabeth Alba for the position of interim city manager. So I'll give a brief update on this. Since this, we were myself, Councilor Farmer, and Deputy Mayor Burisma were the ones involved in negotiating this contract with Ms. Alba, and our city attorneys got an opportunity to review this. So some of the highlights that we covered with the negotiation process and putting this agreement together were the salary. We wanted to make sure that we provided salary above pretty much every other major position that we had in our city. That included police chief and fire chief. So we initially agreed to $122,000 a year, starting on the 16th. And another item was her stipend for driving and personal vehicle use. In this case, our former city manager had it at 300 with a 100-mile radius of the city of Sunnyside, where additional miles could be reimbursed. In this case, we spoke to Elizabeth, and it sounds like most other employees have it at 50 miles. So council members, is there any objection to that 50-mile, $300 stipend? I believe I was under the impression that we were doing a stipend of $300 to avoid having so many reimbursement for shorter trips. Okay, here.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
I think that really instead of, you never know what you're going to encounter when you talk about travel reimbursements. And it might be better to keep it at the larger amount. If she doesn't use it, she doesn't use it, but it might be better to keep it at the larger amount. You just, what with some of the things opening up, as far as going back to live meetings as opposed to Zoom meetings that she may need to attend that are outside the 50-mile radius, I just would feel more comfortable if we kept it at that 300 amount.
Keep it at the 50-mile as it is presented?
Reduction fund two. I think I would rather have it at the same as past city manager Casey had.
Okay, sounds good. So at that point, it'll be the 300 stipend and travel beyond 100 miles.
Right.
Okay. Is there any objection to that change to the contract? Okay, so we'll make that adjustment. The other item right below that was the residency requirement. In the past, it was within the city limits. And in this case, we made a concession with our the negotiating committee to include that in the urban growth area, which would include the address with which Ms. Alba is currently residing. Again, this is the interim process, the interim city manager agreement. So we felt that this was still close enough to our city limits, but not quite as far away as our school district boundaries. So we feel comfortable with having this be within the urban growth area.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir?
Thank you, sir. A real quick question on this item. Although we have it in our contract, council is still going to have to take some kind of action, resolution, because of the RCW. RCW 35A says the council has to give a waiver to the city manager to allow them to live outside the city limits.
Okay, well, that's a good point. I wasn't aware of that. So at this point, if council agrees, then RC 3488.13.050 is the one we're going to have to make a waiver on, because at this point, through this contract, we're saying it's okay. And if we need an additional waiver, I'm not sure if that's something that attorneys maybe missed when we did this, but I felt that under the contract, this covered that section. But if Mr. Restucci, Councilor Restucci, if you feel like we need to do a waiver and just to be more in the clear, we could definitely get that going.
Okay, I honestly, I believe we can definitely do this contract, Mr. Mayor, and I have no problems with the contract, but I believe that council must take action on a waiver to allow the manager under RCW 35A13.
Okay, and we'll, Ms. Alba, can you get going one of those so we could have it ready for our next meeting? It should be our city attorneys to try to get that waiver going for us and be able to present at the next meeting.
I believe we could do a resolution, having the waiver be part of it, that would satisfy the RCW.
And I would agree, Madam City Manager. The other thing is, our waiver just needs to say that we're allowing the manager to live outside the city. It doesn't need to say in the school district or anything of that nature. Just because all the waiver is to allow them to live outside the city so that they're allowed to help us in the process of passing taxes on the people, and they're supposed to be feeling those taxes the same way as we are. That's the whole point of having the manager live within the city. So council has to waive that to allow that person to live outside the city and still perform their duties, which would include imposing taxes on the people.
That makes sense. Thank you, Councilor Restucci, for that. The next item that we were able to do agreement on was outside activities. Currently, our Ms. Alba, she is a part-time teacher at Yakima Valley Community College for the past 13 years, and we felt that that would be something that we can accommodate. Ms. Alba reassured us that this will not interfere with her interim city manager duties. And we felt that it would definitely be beneficial for us long-term having that knowledge and continued growth in accounting and having the pool of talent that could potentially be future employees for the city. And we felt it was something that we could live with. So at this point, we didn't have a problem with it, but I wanted to point out to the rest of council who were not involved in the negotiation process of this contract. Besides that, we did a 6-month review, and then another 6 months after that, which could be extended. So council will have to make a decision after 6 months if they want to extend it or make it permanent or start a search for city manager at that time. But it does allow for an extension, and after 1 year, then make a decision whether you want to make it official or continue with the interim process or start the search from that point forward. Besides that, the termination itself, we did not do a termination package as we had in the past with the prior city manager, since this was an interim process. We were hoping that it would be, if it didn't work out for Ms. Alba, she didn't enjoy the position itself, we could have her go right back to our former title and continue doing a great job in that area. So we felt that a termination pay would not be warranted at this time. Besides that, council members, anything else that I left out, Deputy Mayor Broersma or Councilor Farmer, that you could think of? Okay, sounds like we'd have no other additions. I'm sorry, go right ahead.
We didn't talk about.
Deputy Mayor Broersma, I'm sorry, I think you cut off a little bit on me.
I'm sorry, I was saying I don't see anything that you and I didn't discuss. As some council may know, I was unable to attend the meeting as a result of some work. So, but you and I had a pretty good conversation afterwards, and you went over this pretty carefully with me. So I feel like you covered it fairly well. Mr. Farmer looks like he's in agreement there. So I think you brought us all up to speed.
Thank you very much. Okay, so everything in the contract, with the exception of the mileage, sounds like that's something that would be considering tonight. So if someone wants to make a motion to approve this as presented with adjustment of personal vehicle stipend and mileage from 50 to 100 miles, and then the rest would be as presented.
I'll make that motion, Councilman Hart.
Okay, so the motion, I'll just state it, make sure it makes sense. Ms. Hart, consider approving a professional service agreement between the city of Sunnyside and Elizabeth Alba for the position of interim city manager with the modification of the mileage from 50 miles to 100 miles.
Second, this is Councilor Restucci.
Okay, motion by Councilor Hart, second by Councilor Restucci to consider approving a professional service agreement, to approve a professional service agreement between the city of Sunnyside and Elizabeth Alba for the position of interim city manager with the changes of mileage from 50 to 100. Is there any debate on this item?
No debate, Mr. Mayor. Just want to make a comment. I want to thank Ms. Alba for stepping up. This is a difficult time right now, and it's nice to know that we have someone who can take the reins if we need them to. So appreciate everything you're doing for us, Ms. Alba.
And I just want to, go ahead, Ms. Hart.
Ms. Mayor, I'd just like to echo Councilman Restucci and note that for the record that she will be the first female city manager on record for the city of Sunnyside. And I think that's something worth noting, that we have the leadership building up through ground up in our community, in our city hall. And I know there are others who are very close to that city manager capability as well. And so I really appreciate her having the courage to step forward. Thank you.
And I also want to add that Ms. Alba was really easy to work with, and during the negotiation process, she put a pretty thorough document together for us to work off of, including our prior city manager's contract and older contract we were able to locate for our long-time position that we had a while back for a short time for an interim city manager that was from another city. So we really hashed out 3 of those documents between the deputy mayor and Councilor Farmer, and Ms. Alba was really key in making that an easy process and very open to negotiation and able to make us come to an agreement fairly quickly and easily. So I want to thank you for that, interim city manager Alba. All right, we know more. I'm sorry, go right ahead.
It was actually an easy process, and I did want to thank everybody for the work and the offer.
Thank you. And with that, can we get a roll call, please? Madam City Clerk, can we get a roll call vote?
Mayor Guerrero,
Yes?
Deputy Mayor Burisma,
Yes.
Councilor Bueller,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Councilor Hart,
Yes.
Councilor Restucci,
Yes.
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Mayor, there's 7 yes votes.
Thank you very much, and congratulations, interim city manager Alba. Up next, we have our ARPA Utility Assistance Program. Consider approving a resolution authorizing city utility bills assistance using funds from the American Rescue Plan Act. Madam interim city clerk, I'm city manager. That is a mouthful. It's gonna take me a while to get used to. I think if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna just do a city manager instead of the interim. It's just a mouthful.
Well, and Mr. Mayor, for the record, the law does not differentiate between interim and city manager. The RCW doesn't have the word interim in it at all. So I don't see any reason why we can't call her Madam City Manager.
Thank you. Yeah, because I'm gonna step all over that one a lot. So thank you for clarifying that.
So the item I'm bringing forward tonight is the ARPA money that we've been given. Everyone knows that we had the U.S. Department of Treasury launch basically the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, giving $350 billion in emergency funding for eligible state, local, and territorial and tribal governments. So these funds were to help bolster the response to the COVID-19 emergency and its economic impact. So the city of Sunnyside will receive a total of $4.6 million, and we've already received $2.3 million, and those are in our bank. The next tranche will be next year. In order to help support immediate economic stabilizations for households and businesses, we're proposing to have a utility assistance program. So we would like $300,000 allocated for this year and $100,000 allocated for next year's tranche. This would help the citizens of Sunnyside that have been impacted by COVID-19 with all or part of their Sunnyside utility bill from March 2020, so it goes back to when the pandemic started, until December of 2022. So we would extend it until next year, at the end of the year. Qualifying residential customers will receive a one-time credit of up to $1,500 or their account balance, whichever is less. Qualifying commercial or business customers are eligible for a one-time credit equal to the total amount of their balance, or up to $3,000, whichever is less. And then customers may apply for a one-time credit or monthly assistance of not more than $250 a month, not to exceed their account balance. So just to make sure that it's very clear, this would mean that if someone has an account balance of $1,500 or less, they can apply for a one-time stipend. Then after that, they can apply for a monthly benefit of $250 or their account balance. We're not going to give them a credit that goes larger than what their bill is. So this should allow people impacted by reduced hours, reduced, basically income. This will be completely income-based. So, Jack, if you could go to the flyer. So this is a flyer that we would like to put in the utility bill this month, if approved by council. So this kind of gives our citizens the background information we just kind of talked about. So if they don't know what ARPA funding is, we can give them that. Also letting them know that City Council is allocating the $300,000 for this year and $100,000 for use next year. And then it also gives the utility requirements. So who is eligible and how are they eligible? So we have already developed the forms and we have the process already in place. Really honestly, if approved tonight, we could start rolling this out as soon as Monday, and maybe possibly this week, depending on staffing and things that we have going on. So how this works is it's based on 80% of the area's median income, or AMI, and you would have to have qualified in those categories. So they would have to present us with a 2019 tax return or proof of their income for 2019, and then we would have to see that it was reduced in 2020. So there are requirements. We will be going through all of those. We will have an online application for people that can't make it in. We will have paper applications, and we will have utility billing clerks and staff to assist if they don't know how to fill it out. I think this is a really good program, and one of the first steps we can take to helping the city. The utility, just a reminder, the utility moratorium ends on September 30th, and this would help anyone that's past due get their account caught up, even if not in full, at least partially. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor Guerrero.
Thank you, City Manager Alba. And we'll go down our list to see if there's any questions or comments on this agenda item. We'll start with Deputy Mayor Broersma.
I think my questions were all answered by Ms. Alba's presentation. I think this is a good idea. In my opinion, it could be very helpful to residents of the city of Sunnyside, and I'm looking forward to being able to disperse these funds.
Councilor Restucci?
I'd echo the sentiments of the Deputy Mayor, Mr. Mayor. I mean, this is a good program, and the sooner we can move forward with it, the better.
Councilor Bueller?
I think the pandemic has affected a lot of people, and this is going to help quite a few in the city of Sunnyside, so I'm glad we're doing it.
Councilor Hicks?
My only question is, this doesn't fall under gifting of public funds, does it?
Not under this policy. This policy specifically allows you to, this interim guidance specifically allows you to use this for COVID relief, and that's what it's considered, is COVID-19 relief. So it's not, it's a grant, basically, is what we're giving.
Councilor Farmer?
I'm in total agreement with it. There's many citizens and small businesses in our community that have been devastated over the last year and a half, and I think anything we can do to make their life, their business a little bit better, I think we all benefit from it.
Councilor Hart?
Yeah, I was thinking what Councilor Hicks was saying about gifting of public money. This money is designated particularly for impacts for COVID. So it's not a matter of a gift, it's actually designated to the community residents. So that's where that, but it was,
Right.
that was a good question. I
The only trick
appreciate
on
the
that is
question.
only certain people will get it.
The people who qualify.
Right.
Those would be the people, right? Yeah. So I appreciate your bringing that up and so that we can make that clear. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir?
If I might, just for council's edification, when we talk about the prohibition in the state constitution against the gifting of public funds, it's really around state funds that are given to the city or county funds that are given to the city. When we have federal dollars that are earmarked specifically for something and Congress has set the rules for how they're supposed to be distributed, then the gifting of public funds in our state constitution doesn't apply. It's kind of like how transportation dollars work when it comes to the MPO and the RTPO, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks for clarification, definitely helpful.
Good to know.
And Madam City Manager, I just have one question. I do see this in English. It will be available in Spanish as well, like a double-sided document.
Sorry, could you repeat your question? I couldn't hear you very well.
Will it be available in Spanish as well?
Yes, we're developing that now. So we have, I didn't provide the Spanish tonight, but yes, it'll be English and Spanish, both online and on paper.
Thank you. That's the only question I had. Okay, Council, what is your desire on this item?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilor Hicks, second by Deputy Mayor Broersma to approve a resolution authorizing city utility bill assistance using funds from the American Rescue Plan Act. Is there any debate on this item? Hearing no debate, can we get a roll call vote, please, on this item?
Councilor Wheeler,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burisma,
Yes.
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Councilor Hart,
Yes.
Mayor Guerrero,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Councilor Restucci,
Yes.
Mayor, there's 7 yes votes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Up next, we have low-income senior citizen and low-income disabled citizen special utility rate. Consider adopting an ordinance amending section 13.20.110 of the Sunnyside Municipal Code. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Guerrero. So when we have the low-income senior disabled citizen application, we've encountered issues with the correct application being submitted and then having the correct backup documentation. So in an attempt to streamline the process, Delilah and her staff started reviewing section 13.20.110 of the Sunnyside Municipal Code and discovered that our application and the SMC did not match. So in order to align those, staff decided to do a complete revamp of the application and the SMC. So as part of that, Delilah pulled ordinances from other cities and tried to make sure that if there were any other language that should be added. And so upon reviewing it, there was consistent language used in multiple cities. And some of it we had, and some of it is proposed in the updated version. The application currently consists of 2 separate applications, the low income and the senior and the low income disabled. We've decided that it is much easier to have one form and you check one box instead of having to figure out which form to fill out. So the proposed ordinance revision includes minor revisions to the following. So it's formatting and the existing code to line up with the modified application, as well as a new section A, qualification, and B, false information. So if you can go down to those, Jackie. So you'll see where it says, false information is just anybody willingly providing false information, to get this discount, will be ineligible and could be guilty, well, it says shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. We probably wouldn't actually do that to someone, but we want to make sure that we have the language in there. If somebody is abusing it, then we can take that step if we need to. And what was the other section? Okay. And A is the qualification, is just having them be, each person showing satisfactory proof to the Director of Finance and Administrative Services. So this is really the only things that changed in our actual code.
Okay, thank you for that report, Madam City Manager. We'll go down a list of council members for questions or comments, and we'll start with Councilor Restucci.
No questions or comments, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Beeler,
No questions.
Councilor Hicks,
No questions.
Councilor Farmer,
No questions.
Councilor Hart,
I think the changes to the qualifications and then adding the bit about false information are and making a one-form application is a really good idea. And then just click the box you need. That's very good thinking on staff's part. I think that's a good thing.
Deputy Mayor Broersma.
Yeah, along with Councilor Hart, I agree. I'm in favor of streamlining the process, making it simpler for people to fill these forms out. I've had to fill out a number of government forms over the years, and they can be incredibly complicated and hard to fill out. So, yeah, simplify the process, make it easier for people. I'm all for it.
Thank you. And I don't have any questions on this item. So what is the desire of council?
Mr. Mayor, Julia Hart, I move to adopt the ordinance amending section 13.20.110 of the Sunnyside Municipal Code in regard to low-income senior and disabled citizens applications.
Second, this is Councilor Restucci.
Thank you. So motion by Councilor Hart, second by Councilor Restucci to approve resolution to adopt an ordinance amending section 13.20.110 with the Sunnyside Municipal Code for low-income citizens and low-income disabled citizens special utility rates. Is there any debate on this item? Hearing no debate, can we get a city clerk to do a roll call vote, please?
Deputy Mayor Burisma?
Yes.
Councilor Hart?
Yes.
Councilor Restucci?
Yes.
Mayor Guerrero?
Yes.
Councilor Farmer?
Yes.
Councilor Beeler?
Yes.
Councilor Hicks?
Yes.
Mayor, there's 7 yes votes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Up next, we have item D on the agenda, which is U.S. Bank loan, police vehicles. Consider approving a resolution authorizing the interim city manager to purchase 4 police patrol vehicles using the U.S. Bank equipment leasing program. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Guerrero. As many of you know, our equipment rental program that we currently have only funds for the maintenance of our vehicles. It does not actually fund for vehicles. We have not purchased any police patrol vehicles for 4 years. In June, the city advertised for lease proposals, and after a careful analysis of those costs, it was determined that using funds for leasing was way too expensive. So if you could go to Exhibit A, Jackie. So you'll see in Exhibit A, the financing costs for the 4 agreements that we received exceeded the cost in some, that's almost the cost of the vehicle. So under Finance Consultants International, their first agreement for 3 Ford Explorers, it would have cost the city in 4 years $54,636.24 in just interest and financing costs. And so on. You can see that those go all the way across. The lowest one is the $32,738.46. I knew that there was a better way and a less expensive way to finance these vehicles, so I reached out to U.S. Bank. U.S. Bank has funded police vehicles for us and other equipment many times over the last 20 years. And it is a lease, but it is through our U.S. Bank equipment lease, and it's something that they do. They give us the government rate. So Jackie, if you could go down to Exhibit B. No, sorry, D. So those same vehicles would, at a total cost of $256,308, we would pay approximately $10,000 in interest over the 4 years. Our interest rate is 1.63%, and there are no hidden costs and no hidden fees. We would own the cars at the end of 4 years. With this, we would have annual payments, so we wouldn't be obligating the money this year. We would be obligating the money in 22, 23, 24, and 25. So we're obligating $66,000 in future budgets, not in 21 budgets. We would get the cars ordered and try to get them delivered this year. There are, as many of you know, a back order on vehicles, but we are hoping we can get ourselves in line and get some police vehicles. So with that, I'll entertain any questions and turn it back over to Mary Guerrero.
I have a question.
Thank you for that report, and we'll go down the list, Councilor Beeler, so it just happens to be you're the first one, so go right ahead, sir.
The lease agreements were all for SUVs, and here you're talking cars. Are they still SUVs?
Actually, they're still the same SUVs that were quoted to us in the lease. So it would be 4 Ford Explorers. And we're going to use the same company that we received the lease quotes from. Their prices were great, but not for the lease and all the stuff that came with it. And we have gotten a new bid on that, so we know for sure how much we're out of pocket.
Okay, Councilor Hicks, questions or comments on this item?
No questions.
Councilor Farmer?
I have some. A few weeks ago, we talked about using some of the ARPA money for this. We cannot do that now?
So we've since found out that there is really not a way for us to use the ARPA money for the straight out just purchase a vehicle. Now, when we did the revenue loss part of it, if we would have had a revenue loss, we could have taken that money and used it to purchase the vehicle. But we didn't have a revenue loss, we actually had a revenue gain from 2019 to 2020. I've been really talking to a lot of different finance people, and the problem is we could get to the end of this and they could say that's not allowed, and then we would have to pay it back. And I would not want to be in that situation for our city, that we use the funds in an inappropriate way. I've looked through it, I've read through it, and it's still an interim guidance, and it's not finalized yet. We're hoping they'll finalize it by the end of the month. And when they finalize it, maybe they can say, oh, yeah, it is allowable, but I haven't seen it in that 39-page document, and I have looked through it multiple times trying to figure out if I could purchase police vehicles. I just don't see a place in there where it's allowed.
The next, is it more of a comment, and it's not directly involved with the lease, but I would like to see extra money paid back on the lease to the city to build up our equipment rental fund. there should be no reason, and many, many years ago when I was first on council, when we needed a new police car, we went to the Equipment Rental Reserve Fund and bought a car. And I would like to be able to set this lease up to where we, at the end of the 4 years, each one of these cars, or at the end of the life that we determine these cars to have, we will have the money in the Equipment Rental Reserve Fund to go out and buy another vehicle.
And we are trying to get that done. It is a staff project that we all are working on. It's a big task because we have a big fleet. But this is probably where the need is the most right now. Some of our police vehicles are 2005. We have vehicles out on the road that really need to be retired.
Thank you. And I totally agree with your perspective on needing to replace the police cars. They are woefully past due for replacement.
Councillor Hart?
Yes, I was just curious as to whether or not we had not already started in our budget processes, even last year and the year before, about the lease program, setting money aside for that. Did we not do that?
Yes, we did, but we put $40,000 away, which doesn't give us.
Just a drop in the bucket.
Exactly.
But we are building.
So we are doing that, and we do have money starting to be put aside. But at that rate, it will take us a long time to get there.
Right. I was just, it seems, jogged my memory that we'd already started the process. As you say, it's gonna take a little while to build that fund up. But nonetheless, we got it going, so that's something. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Boersma?
Yeah, I'm just, want to clarify and make sure that, we're talking about vehicles. I mean, the price for these vehicles is actually pretty good. Are we talking about vehicles that are fully equipped, outfitted, ready to roll the instant they show up in Sunnyside, or do we get them and have to send them to some sort of outfitter and they have to, prep the vehicles to be on the road?
So Exhibit B shows the vehicles. So this is the specification. And then if you go farther down the page, Jackie, you'll see all the equipment. So this is ready to roll, put on the force, and as soon as they come in, it's here.
Okay, so they're coming to us fully equipped.
Exactly.
Okay.
Minus modem.
Minus modem,
Minus
yes,
modem, yeah.
that will be our, but actually, the modem will be the ones we've already purchased, and they'll do the install. You'll see the very last line item on the right, is install radio, radar, and modems, and sector. So basically, we have modems already put aside for these vehicles, just in case you passed it. So we have them available, and they're ready, and then this company will actually install.
Our equipment,
No, go ahead.
right?
Mhm.
Okay.
I do have another question here.
Councillor Farmer, let's hold that one until we get everyone to ask a question first, and we'll move back to you, okay? So Councillor Restucci, you're next. Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, as Councilor Farmer mentioned, I've done this a lot. We've purchased cars outright. We've done leases over the years. I would like to see an equipment rental fund put together like we had way back when, Mike. I think that would work really well for the city. Unfortunately, I'm concerned that we can't seem to get there. We started out really well. I mean, one year we spent $250,000 on police cars. So, but we can't seem to get to the point where we need to be. So I'm hoping that we can finally get there.
And I have a couple of questions, Mr. Manager. Obviously, this prices, obviously, they sound reasonable. And are they comparable to other vehicles we purchased in the past, or are they obviously, you know, sometimes they'll get a little more expensive with time as time goes on. So are they similar in price, or are we? I mean, my concern is I see a lot of different items that are on the equipment. Are these pretty standard, or are we just getting a whole bunch of bells and whistles because we can on these vehicles?
These are actually pretty standard issue police vehicles. There's not really anything on here that you wouldn't see on any vehicle in any other city in the Yakima Valley. They have, certain things that are, required, you know, especially some of the safety equipment, and then, you know, cages that's between the passenger and the driver. But really, this is just a standard issue police vehicle. It's not something with a bunch of bells and whistles. It is actually just a standard issue police vehicle.
Thank you, because I have seen some vehicles out that look like a Christmas trees in the middle of the night. They light up the tires, the underbody. So I was kind of curious, you know, obviously those don't seem to be required. It's more of a nice thing to have. So I just want to make sure that this was some of the basic items that we're not trying to light up all the whole street with under lighted vehicles and all kinds of crazy lights that may be optional, but we chose to throw onto the vehicles. The other one, we did have some U.S. bank loans for vehicles already in place. Are those about to be paid off, or have they been paid off?
So we have our last one that was in 2017, and I believe that was also a 4-year lease, so it should be coming off this year. So this payment will just basically replace that same payment. So we won't see a big impact to our general fund. It'll kind of be take one off and put one on.
Thank you. That makes a complete sense. So that we don't have a large payment for two different sets of vehicles that we're leasing or buying out through a U.S. bank, and might be a big hit for the budget for next year. So thank you for those answers to my questions. And I don't have any further questions. Councilor Farmer, go right ahead, sir.
I'm sorry. I just noticed this on the sales tax. Aren't they required to charge our county sales tax instead of theirs?
So I looked into that. I went ahead and left it at their price, but when we get ready to have delivery of the vehicles, they should be paying destination, so they would pay the 8.2%. But I went ahead and left that in case we had a cost overrun. It's not material to the entire contract price. I'd rather come out a little less than come out over.
Okay, thank you.
It's harder to borrow more money than it is to borrow less.
Sure.
Okay, here no further questions. What is the desire of council on this item?
I'll make the motion, sir. Move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Deputy Mayor Boersma, seconded by Councilor Hart. To approve a resolution authorizing the interim city manager to purchase four police patrol vehicles using the U.S. Bank Equipment Leasing Program. Is there any debate on this item? I want to say thank you for all the work putting those numbers together. I looked them over. They looked, interesting. You answered my questions, so I appreciate the work and doing the math between a lease and purchase, where we get to keep the vehicle afterwards. I'm not a big fan of lease vehicles, but if it makes sense for the city, obviously that would be a difference. But in this case, it sounds like the purchase makes more sense, less interest to be paid. So I want to thank you for the staff for doing all the work and getting those numbers put together for us. All right, Madam City Clerk, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Boersma,
Yes.
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Mayor Guerrero,
Yes.
Councilor Hart,
Yes.
Councilor Wheeler,
Yes.
Councilor Suchi,
Yes.
Mayor, there's 7 yes votes.
The motion passes. Thank you, Council. Up next, we have our DNR Wildfire Interagency Agreement. Consider authorizing the city manager, interim city manager to execute an interagency agreement with the Washington Department of Natural Resources as presented for the period 2021-2025. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Guerrero. I actually would like to pass this over to Fire Chief Ken Anderson, and I would like to take just a second to welcome him back. Glad to see his face in council. So I will let him present this item.
All right, thank you, City Manager, Alba. Mr. Mayor and council members, good evening. This item comes sort of a little bit unsolicited. The City of Sunnyside Fire Department currently participates in the state mobilization agreement with Washington State Patrol and with the Department of Natural Resources to provide personnel and equipment during large-scale incidents, including wildfires. We had an agreement, I thought we had an agreement in place that the council approved in 2019, but every so many years, the Washington Fire Service, through the state fire chiefs and the Department of Natural Resources, renegotiate these contracts, and so we kind of came in one of those glide years in 2019. Subsequent to that time, a new contract has been negotiated with the DNR, and in June, right before I went out ill, right after I went out ill, they sent out this new agreement and wanted it back on June 30th, and so it's been in the works since then. Basically, this agreement would supersede the current agreement. Actually, the current agreement, I found out the other day, has been completely voided out on the DNR's end, so we don't have a current agreement. But that supersedes those terms, and it still establishes the wages for personnel wages, the equipment rates that they and reimbursements that they provide us, and then it also describes the city's responsibility in submitting invoices to the state for reimbursement. Actually now, I think it's within 30 days, before it was a little bit long, 60 days. At any rate, there's no cost to the city. This is optional at the time. This basically agreement just allows them to get us on the roster, to call us, whether it does not obligate us to assist, and only when we're able to assist. And I'll be more than glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. And we'll start with Councilor Hicks. Questions or comments on this item?
No questions.
Councilor Farmer?
No questions.
Councilor Hart?
So if our agreement has expired, is that what you're saying? So we're starting up like a new agreement with the DNR?
So this agreement is for 2021 through 2025. And the reason they voided out ours is because, like I said, as a member of the Washington Fire Service, all agreements are not individually negotiated. They're negotiated with the state fire chiefs level, and then all agencies that want to participate take them as presented. And so now that they've changed the terms of the statewide agreement to all members of the Washington Fire Service, it's a new agreement.
It's a whole new agreement. Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Burisma?
I have no questions.
Councilor Restucci?
No questions, just one comment, Mr. Mayor. Welcome back, Chief. It's good to have you back.
Councilor Beeler?
Yes, Chief, when they do call you for assistance on a fire or something, do we get enough funds to at least break even, or does it cost us?
No, so the reimbursement rate is, there's two portions. One is the equipment rate is a daily rate, and it's always charged now at the wet rate. So it's the higher rate. There used to be a dry rate and a wet rate. And so the state negotiated, the state fire chief through this agreement ensure that we're paid a wet rate. So that's just paying for the equipment rate. That's a state rate, depending on the type of apparatus that we send, whether it's an ambulance, fire engine, or brush truck. Then there's an addition. Then when it comes to personnel wages, the state pays for the wages of the personnel that respond on the fire, and they pay for the backfill. If we incur any overtime, it's covered. So basically, and the way we do it is we send people that are off duty so that they're on overtime, and it's career staff to go. And so then we just bill out their full rate. So there's no cost to the city. The city actually comes out ahead on this thing.
Okay, and I don't have any questions on this item, so what is the desire of council?
Move to approve.
Second?
Motion by Councilor Hicks, second by Councilor Beeler, to authorize the interim city manager to execute an interagency agreement with the Washington Department of Natural Resources as presented for the period 2021-2025. Is there any debate on this item? Hearing no debate, Madam City Clerk, could you please do a roll call vote?
Councilor Beeler,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burisma,
Yes.
Councilor Restucci,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Mayor Guerrero,
Yes.
Councilor Hart,
Yes.
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Mayor, there's 7 yes votes.
Motion passes. Thank you, council. Up next, we have Water Department Gate Replacement. Consider authorizing the interim city manager to execute an agreement with Iron-esque Inc. to replace 2 security gates at the Water Division in the amount of $12,540.38. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Guerrero. I will defer to Public Works Director Fisher to cover this item.
Thank you, Madam City Manager, Mayor, members of council. Yeah, so this is to replace 2 security gates we have at the water department located at 409 East Lincoln. Gates are more than 30 years old, and we've been kind of limping through the last couple of years, keeping them kind of going. They don't provide service for them, so that, of course, is where our SCADA is stored. It is secure, it needs to be a secure location. So we're looking tonight at approving an agreement with Iron-esque to come in and replace those gates. With that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. And we'll start with Councilor Farmer. Questions or comments on this item?
No questions.
Councilor Hart?
The water gate, that's around a facility?
Yeah, there's actually, both gates are actually on 4th Street. So there's one gate that you would go into like dump the recycling.
Right,
Then the next gate is between the lean-to and the main operations building.
right,
There's the staff gate.
right.
So both those gates are automated gates, slide gates. And right now they operate with a remote control,
Right.
Which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Sometimes they have the truck go into the outdoor, go through and open it at the actual gate itself. So we'll replace those gates with remotes as well, but the water supervisor can actually go on his smartphone. Let's say it's on a Friday, they want to pick up recycling, he can actually open it from his smartphone, let the garbage truck in,
Oh,
let them do their thing, and then close when they leave. So it gives us a lot of leeway and a lot of freedom on opening and closing that gate for staff and employees.
and you said those were probably more than 30 years old,
Oh, yeah.
so it's time.
Yeah, I think those were put in when I graduated from high school in 1987.
Wow, they are old.
Somewhere in
Okay.
87, 88, it was just down inside.
Yeah, well, that sounds like a good plan to see that, to replace it.
Deputy Mayor Bursma?
Yeah, just a question, the funding for this is all in place, we're not having to do a budget amendment or anything to cover this?
Yeah, the water fund will take care of it. We will do some internal adjustments. We're probably gonna move some money. Currently with everything going on with the microchips, we're not able to get chips for water meters and MXUs, which are the antennas, that we use for the new base station that you guys approved. We're gonna move some money from the supply line item into the repairs and maintenance line item within that budget, so the fund does support it. And then if we have to come back later, once we put another meter, order in, we'll make those adjustments as needed.
Okay, good.
Councilor Restucci?
My questions were answered, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Beeler?
No questions.
Councilor Hicks?
No questions?
And my question was answered well. I did see the amount budgeted for 50,000 and the expense for 12,540. So it sounds like we somehow budgeted for this expense. So I'm glad to hear that we are obviously thinking about some of these larger ticket items that we need to take care of throughout the year. So those questions got answered. So what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to authorize city manager to execute the agreement with Iron-esque Inc. To replace 2 security gates at the water division in the amount of $12,540.38.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilor Hart, second by Deputy Mayor Boersma, to authorize the interim city manager to execute an agreement with Iron-esque Inc. to replace 2 security gates at the water division in the amount of $12,540.38. Is there any debate on this item? Hearing no debate, Madam City Clerk, you please do a roll call vote?
Councilor Hicks,
Yes.
Councilor Stucci,
Yes.
Councilor Farmer,
Yes.
Councilor Hart,
Yes,
Councilor Beeler,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bursma,
Yes.
Mayor Guerrero.
Yes.
Mayor, there's 7 yes votes.
Motion passes. Thank you, council. Up next is item G, sewer slip lining program. Consider authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with Columbia Pumping and Construction, Inc. to install approximately 925 feet of 24-inch pipelining. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Guerrero. I am going to ask Public Works Director Fisher to report out on this item.
Thank you, Madam City Manager. Okay, so this is the same program we've been doing each year for the last 4 or 5, 6 years. Some of you remember, we started this. It's a much more cost-effective to slip line these pipes. As long as there's no bellies in them, it's probably a tenth of the cost as opposed to digging up the road and replacing the sewer main. So once again, we're coming to you. We have a much larger pipe. If you've noticed, the pipe size keeps getting larger and larger. So we're farther downstream. We've got more influent coming in, so the pipes get a little bit larger. Eventually, we'll end up at 36 inches. Tonight, we're looking at about 925 feet of 24-inch pipe. And that's what that I can answer your questions.
Thank you for the report. Councilor Hart, questions or comments on this item?
You put that pipe through, what is the existing pipe there, and it just preserves it?
Correct.
So you don't have to actually go in and dig up and put new pipe in?
Correct. Basically, what they do is the pipe comes folded up, back the pipe, and they fold it again. Now they put a cable through the sewer line, and they hook onto that pipe, and they pull that pipe through there. Then they have a special attachment they put on that, they pump high pressure steam into the pipe, and it unfolds inside the pipe. And so they put high pressure, several hundred pounds over a couple hours, let it mold to the inside of the pipe. Once it's sealed, they cut the ends of the pipe off, they put a little robot in there that goes up, and you can see where the service line is connected to the main, because the high pressure actually pushes the pipe out where the service connection is. So a robot goes up and it cuts the coupon out, takes the coupon with it, and basically dremels out that, makes a nice clean drop for the influent coming in. And it goes through and does all the services, and then once it's done, they can do it in a day. And, yeah, it does save the problem of having to dig up the street, put a new line in, reconnect everybody's services. So it's a much less invasive approach.
Just on that note, what is the warranty on something like that?
Warranty on that is it's a 20-year warranty. The pipe is actually the heavier pipe than the actual pipe that it's inside. So the structural integrity is there. It's not going to go anywhere. It's almost like a C900 water pipe. It's not that thick. So about twice as thick as a normal sewer pipe.
And just a third question, probably, the funding for that?
Yeah, so we budget every year about $150,000. Now last year we came to council towards the end of the year, I think it was October, November, for a second slip lining project. Well, with COVID happening, then they got their trailer broken into, they couldn't get it was bad. And so they couldn't get here to get the work done until after the first year. So when they got the work done, we ended up having to use this year's budget to pay last year's appropriation. So what it did is it kind of left us a little bit in the hole here. So there will be a $37,700 budget amendment to shore up the cost of the project, which is $103,000. Right now we have about $65,000 in there. We have a $90,000 project that went into this year, and so that balance will do a budget amendment when we do, I guess, second or third quarter budget amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Burisma?
Yeah, Ms. Hart asked all my questions, so I think I have them all answered. Thank you.
Councilor Restucci?
No questions, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Beeler?
No questions.
Councilor Hicks?
No questions?
Councilor Farmer?
No questions.
I have a question. So 925 feet, just for a visual, how many city blocks might that be?
Oh, boy. Well, it's three sections of pipe. The manholes are about 300 feet apart. So I'm not sure what that equates to in blocks, but it's going to start on Warehouse in South Fourth, and then it's going to move west to get the Hickenbottom trucking, and then it turns south. But I'm not, I couldn't tell you right now exactly how many feet for each one of those segments that, I just know the total run is 925 feet.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty a nice amount. So I'm just kind of curious, just a visual in my mind of how much that might be. But well, it looks like 3 football fields really. So it kind of gives me a bit of a visual. So I was just kind of curious. But yeah, no worries. That was just more of a curiosity than anything else. But for the budget amendment, I'm a little concerned there. Obviously, this is coming from the sewer fund. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so I know that sewer fund is pretty healthy, so we should be okay as far as making use of those funds to cover for this budget amendment. Is that correct, Ms. Alba?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. That answers my questions. And what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve?
Second?
Was that Hicks and Beeler?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, motion by Councilor Hicks, seconded by Councilor Beeler, to authorize the interim city manager to execute a contract with Columbia Pumping and Construction, Inc., to install approximately 925 feet over 24-inch pipelining. Is there any debate on this item? Hearing no debate, Madam City Clerk, could you please do a roll call vote?
Counselor Hart,
Yes.
Counselor Suchi,
Yes.
Counselor Farmer,
Yes.
Mayor Guerrero,
Yes?
Counselor Hicks,
Yes.
Counselor Beeler,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Burisma,
Yes.
Mayor, there's 7 yes votes.
Motion passes. Thank you, Council. And that concludes our active agenda for today. We'll move on to our items from council members. Mayor's appointments for boards and commissions. We do have an application for David Timmermans to the Airport Advisory Board. Is there any objection to appointing this Ms. Timmermans to the Airport Advisory Board? I'm not familiar who he is, but if somebody does know him and maybe his background as far as what he might be able to contribute, that would be helpful for the rest of council.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I've known Mr. Timmermans for a very long time, since he was a young boy, and his family has a long history of service to the city of Sunnyside. His dad served on the Sunnyside Fire Department for a long time. They're a good, solid Sunnyside family, so his interest and commitment to our community is historical, I guess, generational. So I would wholeheartedly support his appointment.
Thank you. And unless we got an objection, we would like to have Mr. Timmermans join the Airport Advisory Board.
No objection.
All right, here no objections. Madam City Clerk, if you get all the paperwork required and documentation of public meetings, all the good stuff that we have to get together, that would be greatly appreciated.
Will do.
Thank you very much. Up next, we have a Lodging Tax Advisory Committee vacancy. Obviously, Councilor Beeler was gracious enough to join us in the council chambers for this. And we are now in need of finding someone who collects the tax under Chapter 67.28 of the RCW. And Deputy Mayor, since you are our chairperson, I'd like to task you with seeing if finding someone that you might know, or maybe even Councilor Beeler may know, to try to get that position filled. So that way you guys have a full committee to present future LTAC funding requests to the rest of the council.
I will tackle that. I will say that we have been trying for some time to come up with a list of candidates who could fill potential vacancies. I will continue to talk to people and see what I can find out. It's been notoriously difficult to find those who contribute to the tax fund. Those who draw from that fund seem to be in plentiful supply. Those who are on the paying side seem to be a little bit more reluctant to serve. So I will continue my search.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I know we do have only 4 qualified individuals to have the 40+ beds or 40+ items. So it is going to be a bit of a challenge. I know when I was there, we had some a bit of hardship, but I have full faith in you that you have a better persuasion than I did at the time. So I'm rooting for you. And if you need me in any shape, way, or form, please don't hesitate to ask, and I'll be more than happy to make a phone call or join you in a meeting with someone who might be interested in, might want to know a little bit more about it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, up next, we have a council request status report. Madam City Manager.
So we don't have any updates on these items. We today did see some progress on the pathway. I don't know if anybody noticed there was a older implement out there by McDonald's. I'm not sure if that's on this report, but I did want you to know. But we don't really have anything new. Do we have any update on the speed signs, Shane?
They're still on order. I'm guessing it's gonna be the whole microchip thing is killing us. So they show up. When we get them, we'll obviously won't get them charged for them service. So I do have an update on the tree replacement plan, I'm them too. In the next month or so, you guys are gonna start seeing, some of the areas we ground up some of the stumps, and I guess it's been the plan the whole time is to, gonna let those open and gravel. So we're gonna, here in the fall, when it's about 104, you'll start seeing a couple, 3 areas, we're gonna start getting some, doing a little bit of an experiment on getting some trees back in these sidewalks. So we'll start working our way out from the core, of the city and start getting those put in. So we've got a plan, and, we will come to council to figure out what kind of tree I'm gonna give it to John Van Wingerden and find a good tree that's not gonna eat sidewalks. Bring a couple options for you guys to take a look at, see what you guys wanna see go back in there. You wanna put the trees back in that are already in the current, the new trees, that are downtown, we can do that too. But I'll bring back a couple options, we'll take a look at it. That's all I have.
Can I just ask a quick question regarding the ones on the pathway? You haven't pulled out any trees,
No.
you're planting trees.
No, we knew that we were gonna have, we were working with Greg on the implement that the city manager was talking about. So we didn't intentionally plant them in there. We knew those were areas where that old crusty grass was gonna come out. And, now there's a couple there that are really close to that gravel. So we may do a little something there, but we won't remove any if we don't have to.
Right.
So,
And this year is the year we're putting in the farm implements along the pathway.
correct.
Okay.
So right now, I think I've grown this one, there's one kind of old wagon that's sitting there. Let's say he brought something else out, I'm
I
not
only
sure.
saw the wagon.
Yeah, I've only seen the
But
wagon.
he's slowly sure you're gonna start moving them out there.
Okay.
I have no idea how many he's planning, to move out, but, he's got lots,
Okay.
so.
Plenty to choose
Just
from.
can't do that.
Thank you.
Do that.
And I can
Council
give you
members, go right ahead, Matt.
I can give you an update on the community cleanup program. Currently, we have issued 286 vouchers. Our first monthly bill for the month of July was just a little over $1,000 in cost. So this program has been highly effective for our citizens. The county has been very pleased. They said it's been great because they feel like it really did help the people that needed to, get rid of garbage. We still are seeing people come in. It's not the big rush floods that we had in July, but I would like to continue this program yearly and let everyone have one free garbage dump a year. I think that it's well worth it for our citizens, well worth it for our city to use this as a cleanup. And then cost-wise, it really has saved city staff time and effort. The processing of the forms is done on our regular time. It just, takes a few minutes. So it's not like it's something that caused us to have to hire anyone or do anything extra, no overtime. So I would really like to recommend that we keep doing the cleanup this way. We allow one a year, and then see how things go with an actual cleanup at the park. I've had a few people call about it, but really I think this seems to suit people's needs because they can go when they have time and at their own pace. And we've issued, like I said, 286 permits as of right now.
Thank you, Ms. City Manager. Ms. Hart, is it okay if we remove that spring cleanup from our council request status?
I think so, seeing how it's functioning properly. I think that'd be fine.
Okay, and also I'd like to remove the one for chip sealing, since this year's chip sealing has been completed, and I have seen quite a few streets that look a lot better after that's been done, so we'd like to remove that one as well, please. And everything else seems to be in progress, so we'll leave those alone. Council members, if you have any additional items that you'd like to see placed on here for follow-up, please let us know. We'll get them on here, get continuous updates. All right, up next we have other reports, announcements, and or questions by council. We have one item in here. I think it's Councilor Restucci who sent an email and attachment, but we'll get to that one as we get down our list of questions or comments from council members. I'm sorry, reports, announcements, and or questions by council. And we'll start with Deputy Mayor Boersma.
Thank you, sir. I just have one item, and I know Councilor Restucci is our resident expert on everything computer and internet, but I had a son-in-law who recently moved out of Arizona. He was working for a subcontractor under Intel, and we got into the conversation. I know it came up a couple of times tonight about the shortage of microchips. Intel, obviously, as we all know, manufactures microchips, and so I asked him straight up, says, what is the problem? Why are we having such a shortage? And he said, the technology really hasn't slowed down over the time of the pandemic, and they're continuing to develop new technologies. All the electric vehicles and so on require many more microchips. Drones and all that sort of stuff also require microchips, and they simply do not have the capacity to manufacture microchips as fast as they are needed. So Intel is currently doubling its capacity in the Phoenix area, but that's going to take some time to come online as well. So this is something that we may be looking at for the foreseeable future, but they are trying as fast as they can to improve the speed at which they can develop it. That's just some information that might be useful to some of you.
Okay, Councilor Restucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I only have one item. In my role as State Transportation Commissioner, I just want to let you know tomorrow, the State Transportation Commission will be holding its final hearing on tolling for the state. It's expected that we are going to raise tolls. Unfortunately, the law doesn't give us much room there, but I just want to give everyone a heads up. We will be meeting tomorrow from 10 a.m. until 1 o'clock, and the meeting will be published or broadcast live via TVW. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all I have.
And this item for consider appointing a voting member to the Energy Facility Site Evaluation Council. Is that something you were interested, Councilor Restucci?
I am, Mr. Mayor. I've been actively involved, obviously. I'm the only sitting member on council who, well, actually, Mr. Farmer is now back, but I'm the one who's lasted all the way through the whole purchase of the Munson property. When I saw this in the RCW, this gives us an opportunity to have a voice that represents Sunnyside when that item comes before the council, and it would be nice to be able to represent the city in that aspect.
Okay, is there anyone else interested, or if there's no objection, since Councilor Restucci is knowledgeable on this item and also interested, which is kind of hard sometimes to get people interested in some of these additional meetings, I'd like to have Councilor Restucci represent us in this Energy Facility Site Evaluation Council.
No objection.
All right, no objection. No one else trying to fight you for this one, Councilor Restucci. So you are our representative. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council, for your support.
All right, Councilor Wheeler, questions, reports, or comments?
Nothing to report or comment on.
Thank you. Councilor Hicks?
Only I have is I will need an excuse for the special meeting on the 28th.
Asking for an excused absence for the 28th, Councilor Hicks, is that what I heard?
Yes.
All right, we'll make sure we ask for that once we get to that. Unless there's an objection, council would like to excuse Councilor Hicks for the 28th meeting. Hearing no objection, Councilor Hicks, you are excused from the 28th regular council meeting. Is that our budget meeting or is that a regular council meeting?
Retreat.
Oh, it's a budget retreat, got it. Okay, 28th is this Saturday. Okay, unless there's an objection, we will go ahead and excuse you for this budget meeting. All right, no objections so ordered. Councilor Farmer, reports, announcements under questions.
Yes, on the budget retreat for the 28th, all we're going to be able to discuss, the way I understand the way this is written, is budget. If we can, I would maybe like to modify that. I think this would be a good time where council members can freely talk with our city manager and let's all get on the same page.
I think that has to be like a special meeting for us to do something that's not on the agenda unless council feels like that's something that's appropriate. Obviously, it's a budget meeting where we'll be able to discuss anything and everything that has to do with a budget for next year, including obviously money for salaries and everything else. Is there something specific, Councilor Farmer, that you want to cover that may not be covered under a budget meeting?
Just maybe what we expect from her, what she expects from us, throw some ideas out that we might be looking for some guidance on, or get her feelings on if we can do this or should do this.
In the past, we've had a meeting where we have like a vision of council for the future. I know we did that with Mr. Don Day, and we had like where we talked about our mission statement and talked about our vision and kind of like the expectations of council. So it sounds like more appropriate to do it in a different meeting if council is amicable to that, and talk more of specifics for our future growth and opportunities, for example, instead of tying into the budget itself.
Mr. Mayor, that sounds like a strategic retreat instead of a budget retreat.
I agree.
And I agree also. I was just wondering if we can't include that in this budget retreat, because we're not going to spend, I believe, a whole day.
Oh, yeah, we can.
We can if we talk enough. But if council wants to try, we can try, or we could try to meet a different time to do the, what Councilor Restucci mentioned, the strategic planning. I have no objection to that. I think I like the idea. Obviously, it's something that we can definitely get the rest of council on the same page and have our city manager kind of model that in her budgeting thinking process and future plans for the city, obviously, the vision of the city council for her. So I'm not sure, council, how you feel about adding another, at least another couple hours, it sounds like, to our budget retreat already this Saturday.
Mr. Mayor, this is Julia Hart. I think we should stick with the budget retreat information that's going to be involving enough brain power to get through that. There probably will be some direction, I'm assuming, on what kinds of things might be going forward as we progress down this journey. But I think if we wanted to do a strategic retreat, that's a whole different animal as far as I can tell. So I'd like to just stick with the budget and get that kind of lined out.
Councilor Farmer, would you like to see that like in a workshop type of setting or an off-site type of meeting where we discuss the strategic planning for our city?
I would like to see it off-site, but I'm amenable to anything. I just think it's a meeting we need to have, and the sooner we have it, the better.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be the 28th. I thought since we were all going to be together, we might spend some time on it anyway, but if that's not the will of the council, that's fine with me, but I think we need to, sit down and have a strategic meeting amongst council members and the city manager. I think so we can all get in line and all have a common purpose on where we want to go and what we want to do.
If
I agree. Go right ahead, Madam City Manager.
So we still haven't published the agenda, and I was looking at last year's budget retreat materials, and the very first section was setting the stage. And setting the stage meant looking back at our 10-year audit history, looking back at our 2018 annual financial report. And honestly, we are at a point now where we don't need to rehash the 10-year audit history. We have 1 year clean audit under our belt. I am confident in 2020 we'll also have a clean audit. So I could take that section and rework it to have some strategic planning in there. I think we could spend about an hour doing that, and then we'll commit to that time frame. And if an hour doesn't work and it's not long enough, then we'll put it to a workshop meeting after that. But I do think that we have time at the beginning to kind of set the stage and talk about what are our future goals for the city and collaborate on this. I think it is a good setting to do it.
If you don't think it's going to be too long of a meeting where we're going to be glazed over at the end of the day, I'm okay with that, because a long meeting, usually at the end of the day, you're just kind of not really absorbing information. It gets a little bit tougher towards the end part of the day. So if you feel confident that we'll have just enough information that we are not lost at the end of the day, I have no problem with it, but I do feel like we want to break it up. I feel like Councilor Hart said, I think if we just do smaller chunks, we will be able to be more engaged and absorb more information instead of trying to get everything thrown at us at once.
And this will be very high level. This will not be a budget retreat where I throw everything at you. It will be a budget retreat where we talk about high level and strategy and the future of our city. That's really how you start your building your budget. Is I need to know where we want to go and where we want to be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
Councilor Hicks, since you're not going to be able to be there, will you be okay if we cover those two topics, or would you rather see them split?
Oh, that's fine. I'll just get notes from council member or Ms. Alba or so.
Okay, and if you have some strategic ideas or plans that you want to see us discuss, if you get them to our city manager, we'll make sure that we cover them and see if we could try to incorporate some of your ideas as well, so that we don't leave you out of this strategic plan.
No problem.
All right, Ms. Alba, City Manager Alba, it sounds like if we could get those two combined and not throw too much at our brain that we're going to be kind of dozing over at the end of the day, I think we got a plan for Saturday.
I believe so.
All right, Craig Council Farmer, does that work for you?
Works for me.
All right, excellent. Okay, and I think I got everyone. Is that correct, Ms. Hart? Did I start with you this time?
I believe so.
Okay, and I have nothing to report or announce, and I don't have any additional questions, so that item is taken care of. Up next, we have upcoming council meetings. Madam City Manager, I'm sorry.
No problem. So obviously on Saturday, we will have our 2022 budget retreat, and that will be held at the Princess Theater. We have set that meeting for start time of 9 a.m. and a hard stop at 2 p.m. In your email, you should have a lunch order. If you could please look through that and get back to Jackie so she knows what kind of food you'd like to eat for that day. We will also have light snacks and coffee, tea, and water available. If you want something special, let us know in your food order. Next workshop will be 7th. That's a Tuesday because of the holiday. And so I'm going to be bringing forward a SMC 2.02 code inspection fee. Planner Shuttleworth will not be able to make it that night, but he is going to prepare the materials for me to present. And what this is we are using the 1994 code fees for inspections. And so we have two things that we're going to do with this discussion. We're going to first bring it up to the current code fees. So we're going to make sure that we're charging the correct rates, and so some of the rates will be increasing, but it's a long time coming. My second child was born in 1994, like Shane said. He went a little bit about high school, and I went, wow, that's old. So, this will be an update to our code as well. So the second part of it is the fees will actually be in the code. So customers or citizens can go in the code and find out how much it is. Right now, they have to call or email or contact the building department to find out how much the fees are. So that we're gonna have a small PowerPoint on this and explain everything to you, and then we'll be bringing it for action at the next city council. But I wanna make sure that you have a chance to have the materials and see it and understand what we're talking about. The next item is a presentation from Amoresco, and this is for facility upgrades. Several years ago, if you were on council, you may remember that we had McKinstry come in and do lighting upgrades at City Hall, and was there any other facilities, Public Works Director Fisher?
Yeah, there was a couple of public works facilities, we went through PD a little bit, just going from the T12 bulbs to T8 bulbs, and now they're looking at LEDs.
So what this project would be is we would, citywide, so we're hoping to touch every city building, replacing all the lights with LEDs. So we would have that project, and there's a lot of incentives through Civic Power to do that. So there are rebates, and there's also the incentive of the saved power and the saved cost. So what we would do with that, we would also take our savings and use it to replace our HVAC systems at some of our locations where they're failing. The police department here has multiple issues with their HVAC units. City Hall has had issues, and the community center. But we'll be doing a citywide analysis of that to see which buildings need to be upgraded. So this company, Amoresco, they actually assist with the whole process. So basically, they do all of the analysis, they do all of the work, and they do all the bidding, they do everything. They answer to us, but everybody else answers to them. So they take the project on, and really honestly, it's a great deal for us to get facility upgrades that we probably couldn't afford if we were going to just do it out of pocket. So we'll have a presentation for that, and then depending on the direction of council, we possibly could bring that September 27th for action. But we want to make sure that everybody understands what it is. September 13th, we will have our firefighters here, and they will be doing introductions and their official pinning. So we'll get to see lots of wives and children and pictures. This is something that I've really missed at our council meetings. They may have to wear masks, but we still want to be able to have them come and introduce themselves and let you guys see them. And then again, we have the public hearing and the action on the code inspection fees. And then we have our 2022 official newspaper, which has went out to bid and should be back when?
September 8th.
So we'll bring that forward on the 13th. And that's all I have for now.
We're doing it a little early just because I'm going on maternity leave soon, so trying to get everything done before.
All right, thank you for that update on the upcoming council meetings. Up next, we have items from city manager and department heads. Ms. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Guerrero. So last week, or possibly the week before, we had the Yakima Health District reach out. They have seen an uptick in COVID cases and really needed a testing site to be opened again in Sunnyside. So Public Works Director Fisher and I kind of got together and said, do we have anything, planned at the community center? What would it look like if we just let them use it again? So the Yakima Health District met with us, and we talked, and we've decided to enter into a contract with them through September 12th, and then on September 13th, University of Washington Labs will take over testing through the end of the year. They feel like they want to contract that just in case, so that if our numbers stay spiked there's a Lower Valley location for people to come to get their COVID test. The one thing that they will be doing different is University of Washington is giving them basically a trailer, and the COVID testing will take place inside the trailer, which is much better than the tents that they had last year. The tents got kind of cold, and they had propane heaters in there. And then at one time, I think the propane heaters were stolen, so it really was not ideal for them. So this will be a much more secure location. They're going to be using the gymnasium, kitchen, office, and restrooms, and they will be paying for this service, so we're not giving it to them at no cost. They will actually be renting it at the government rate. So mobilization and placement has started. They should be having their trailer arrive on Tuesday, and the last word that I had, they were going to be starting testing possibly on Wednesday or Thursday of this week. So it went very fast, and very pleased with that. And then, as many of you know, there's a mask mandate. I sent a citywide email and just implemented early because we might as well get in the habit. Today was the day the governor put in place the mask mandate. So we also are taking any of the PPE that was being purchased and coding it to the ARPA 21 funds. So we want to make sure that we capture those dollars so that we make sure that we use that money. I'm going to let Shane do a Midvale Road construction update. And then my last item is I would like to introduce you to Jameson Horner. She is going to fill the vacancy of interim finance and administrative services director left by me today. Jameson comes to us from the city of Madison, and she is the current treasurer. She is going to be under the same kind of contract guidelines that I am, where she'll be 6 months interim with a 6 month extension, and then revisit where we're at. So she kind of gets to ride on my coattails a little bit. Just so everyone knows, I worked with Jameson or Jamie, she can go by either, at the city of Toppenish, and was very fortunate to have her. She brings a wealth of knowledge, and in this important budget season, I knew it was very important for me to get somebody on board that understood local government, that knows how to, you know, do the budget, do the things that I need. And then also along with that, we have an ILA for using personnel and equipment with other cities. So I have offered to Madison that if she needs to help them, she's a phone call away. If she needs to run over there and do something, we will allow that because we want to be friendly neighbors to our other cities. And she knows that I want to make sure that we don't leave Madison in a bind. So I've made that commitment, and I also let Jameson know that she can do what she needs to do, but Sunnyside comes first, of course. So, would you like to say anything, Jamie?
This is nice to meet you all. I'm happy to be here. Super excited, actually, to work with Elizabeth again. We worked well together when we worked at Toppenish before, and so I am sure that we will be a good team.
Welcome.
Yeah, glad to have you.
And with that, I'll let Chief Anderson give his report.
Nothing else. I can take the first day back, so don't have a whole lot to report on for next week. But I want to thank everyone for the kind wishes and the well wishes that I received all those days. Thank you.
Your work, Director Fisher.
Yeah, quick Midvale Road update. So today they were there paving. So the northbound lanes are paved. Tomorrow they will do the southbound lanes. And then over the next week and a half or so, they'll come back to do lane striping, utility adjustment, just bring up the manholes and the valve boxes up to grade, get those asphalted in, and then we're still slated to be done at the end of this month. So I know you guys have received several reports on Midvale Road, but we are looking at being done right around 40 days on an 80-day contract. So,
Wow.
So that's great news. I'm pretty excited about it. Haven't had a whole lot of complaints from a couple businesses that had trouble getting in. You know, once you surveyed asphalt, trying to get across a fresh amount of asphalt with a semi-truck is not ideal. So we're having to turn some people away. But other than that, It's going very smooth, and we're pleased. That's all I have.
No report from our chief of police.
Oh, sorry, I forgot.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead,
Yeah.
sir.
Oh, okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Well, the police department, we recently hired another lateral officer. Her name is Chanel Strom. She comes to us from the Yakima Nation Tribal Police Department. And so she is currently on her second week, the beginning of her second week with us here. And she's out currently with her FTO, and now she'll be assigned internally for the week to do some shadow time with dispatch and with corrections, so she kind of gets an idea as to what happens there behind the scenes. So she's a welcomed addition to the department, and so hopefully we will have her out on her. Well, she'll be starting on her field training. Starting not this week, but the next week. So you'll be seeing her around there. We are also doing our promotional and swearing-in ceremony tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. All of you are invited if you have a chance to stop by. It's going to be at Inspire at 6th and a warehouse there by the tracks. So that will be a great event. And again, if you're able to make it, it'd be great if you could stop by. So anyhow, that's really all we have at the moment. And obviously, working with the reform laws, there's significant training still that's going on with that. And but the application has been a bit confusing, but still responding to a significant amount of calls and handling them as appropriate as we possibly can. So other than that, I have nothing further.
Madam City Manager, in the future, could we get also all the new police officers who were hired over the process of the past, COVID set time that maybe council has not had an opportunity to meet? I know we do the pinning ceremony for firefighters. So if one of these days we could get some of these police officers to come in front of council, just so council has a face to put to the name, I guess, if anything, and introduce our police officers to council members as well. I think that'll be a good motivator for our police officers to be able to reach out to even council members if one of these days they feel like there's something of interest to them and they want to go through the chief. And obviously council members, we are in the community, we see them in events, that way they know who we are and they could approach us and, say hello at least.
And that's actually already in the process. Chief Escalera and I have already spoken about that we would probably do different shifts. So a couple at one meeting, a couple at another because of the shift work that they work. But yes, we already had that planned.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. All right, council, there being no further business to come before council. And with that, actually, I think we still have our deputy clerk. I'm sorry, Madam City Clerk. I'm putting titles in front of everybody today. Sorry about that, guys. So, Madam City Clerk, is there any report from you?
Elizabeth had touched on the lunch option for Saturday, that I received that back. Never received it from a few of you, but I put papers on the ones that I'm missing.
Can we just turn them into you?
Yes.
Because I already put.
Madam City Manager, anything else I missed besides the ones you mentioned?
I think that's it for tonight.
Okay. All right, now I can say the official last word here. So there being no further business to come before council and without objection, I adjourn this meeting at 8:18 p.m. Thank you, council, and hope you have a good evening or good night.
Good night,
Good night,
Mr.
everyone.
Good night, everyone.